It was me. Yeah, okay. So I start with our Photos application, which is like a front-end application. So here it is. And let me minimize this here. Okay. So this Photos application, we started this Photos application to give users an open source backend agnostic alternative for Google and Apple Photos. And the reason that we specifically chose Photos app was the policy change that Google did to remove the free tier. And it left users with no comparable alternative with the same experience, with the same user experience and features. So, and it didn't stop there. Like, even though in the initial policy change, it was advertised that you just could not add to the storage if you exceed the limit. As you see here, there are footnotes that they may even remove the photos from your storage. So besides the price, the biggest question it raised for users was what other changes Google or any other big tech, centralized tech might do in future, when they have our data. And we wanted to know how many users are frustrated with this policy change. And we found that we are not alone. There are many public polls that asked the user whether they would change to a new solution after the policy change or not. And here is one from 9 to 5 Google, and it clearly shows that 30% would definitely switch. Here is another one from Android Authority, which shows 20% are switching. And considering that Google Photos has over 1 billion users, these numbers show a huge users, close to 250 millions that are left with no comparable option, although they want to switch. So the solution that we tried to develop is we started to develop an open source and back-end agnostic Photos application. And we chose React Native because it's JavaScript based to just allow developers to jump aboard and contribute to the project. And since Google and Apple already spent millions of dollars, probably fine-tune the features, we wanted to have the same features that are already present in those applications. So just to show you an overview of what we did, here is a demo video, like a quick video showing the features that are present in this front-end Photos application. So it has 3 modes, 2 column, 3 column, and 4 column. You can switch between them, and it's grouped by day and month. It has a thumb scroll to fast scroll up and down. You can open a single image. You can have highlights based on years ago or months ago. And we are adding more features as we get close to the first public version. So our first public post about this application, we actually posted it on dev.to, and we got a great feedback, 130 reactions, and actually an encouraging comment from the platform founder, Ben. So it was a great start for us, and it really encouraged us to move forward with it. The technology that we developed, as I explained, we used React Native in Expo, TypeScript, and libp2p. So technically, we used React Native for ease of development and maintenance because it gives us an environment that you code once and you can run on both Android and iOS. And in the application, we used reanimated library to just run animations on the UI thread without passing them on the JS bridge, which makes it very smooth. And we minimize the state changes and component re-renders, which added to the smoothness. And fortunately enough, there was a Flipkart cycler list view that is a very performant list view that we could leverage in our application to show the photos like the grid that you saw. Why we chose React Native? As I said earlier, it's a JavaScript framework that gives a couple of leverages. One is we can code once and run both iOS and Android. And since it's JavaScript based, new contributors can jump aboard easily, like they can contribute to the project. And it has a large community to support it. Like any issue that you face, you can just Google it and a lot of results show up. And with Expo, testing is like easy. You just write on your computer, open scan a QR code, and you have it on your phone. Why we made it backend agnostic? So basically, with backend, we are trying to implement like a few options for the users in the initial release, and Filecoin is one of those backends. But we want it to be backend agnostic because we want to allow the user to decide the backend, like if they want to store their photos on the Filecoin network or Dfinity or the Box, which is the other project I'm gonna present, or even if they want to store their photos on a centralized cloud like AWS, we want to give these options and leave the choice to the user. And also the front-end developers, like when the backend is totally separate from the front-end developers can easily understand the code. They can just contribute to the front-end side. And troubleshooting is easier because it's two separate parts. They are not actually, they are segregated, and they are not code-wise, they are not interconnected. So the way that it works from the user's perspective, the user just installs the app from Play Store or App Store, and they select which backend they want to use. And the photos from the user device are automatically backed up to the backend. Let's say like on Filecoin, we send it on Filecoin or the Box, and they can share with anyone. We use proxy re-encryption for sharing in a secure way. And they can access it from anywhere because it's based on IPFS. So it allows the user to basically enjoy all the benefits of an IPFS backend. So far, our GitHub page has more than 400 stars and 20 forks. And we are really pleased that many contributors are contacting us, and new contributors are joining to this project because it's something like that we wanted to be useful for actually everyone. So we need all the help we can get from the open source developers. We started this project in January 2021. That was when we had the kickoff. And we finalized the technologies, how we are going to communicate between the Photos app and the backend in March. And the first working demo, which was only working for the on-device photos, so no backend at that point, it was in June. Right now, we are trying to connect the front end to the backend and implement the IDs for authentication. And we hope that we can release the first public version of the app on Google Play in November. The team is actually very interesting because we all have worked together in pairs on multiple projects prior to this one. Now this project gave us a chance to just work together as a group. So Kayvon is an open source and Web3 contributors with experience in IPFS, blockchain, AI, and he is working on the photos, third-party connections, like backends on Filecoin mainly. And Kate is our business development and commercialization specialist. And he's working on as the project advisor. And me, myself, I'm a full stack developer. I'm developing the front end, the photos with React Native. I have extensive experience in developing large ERP systems, which is helping me in designing this application. And if you want to get more information, you can either follow our GitHub project at github.com functionland/photos, or subscribe to our YouTube, to our Twitter, which is in the tweet that Hackerline made. So do we have any questions or comments on the first
Hey,
project?
Anson. Sorry for keep you waiting at the beginning.
Hi.
Hi. So do you want to go on with Box, or we just stop here to make some Q&A, and you're gonna start the next part?
I believe yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I think we can do some QA if there's any here, so we can jump on. So this is the distinction point from where we go from front end to back end. So if there's, it's a good point to have any questions answered if there are any.
Yeah, that's also why it's very interesting to have your team presenting two projects during this same session. So my first question is, I saw you mention AWS and Filecoin at the same time during the presentation. So we all know that AWS is a centralized cloud storage, and Filecoin is a decentralized Web3 storage tool. So from your point of view, what's the difference between a centralized cloud? What's the difference between cloud storage and decentralized storage tool like Filecoin and IPFS?
So basically, let me first actually clarify something. So the reason that I mentioned both together is the choices that we want to leave to the user. Like, we don't want to just limit the user to a specific choice. Like, we don't want to choose for the user where to store their files. Like, they might want to store it on Filecoin and decentralized network, or on AWS on a centralized cloud network. Okay. Any comments? Okay. So basically, from my perspective, what makes them distinct is when you store your files on AWS, although they are encrypted, but they are on a central server, like you exactly know where the file is. If that server is filtered out by the ISP or something happens to it, that affects your files directly. It's basically just, as it says, like central storage. For the Filecoin, it's totally different. Like we give it to the IPFS network. Like the nodes that are actually activate on the Filecoin network, they store part of the file. Like we don't know which part, but we know that the whole file is stored on the Filecoin network on some nodes. And like if a node goes down, we still can access the file. And the beauty of this is the integration of Filecoin and IPFS, because when I explain the next project box, we also give the user to store their files on the box using IPFS. And that like if they want a further, like if they want to take further step to secure their files, they connect it to Filecoin to get like have a backup of their files on the Filecoin network, so that if their files, if their box goes down for any reason, they can still access their files on the Filecoin.
So I would just add that it all comes down to the user experience of it. So in a centralized solution like Google Photos, so they already have a centralized server within Google. We have these cloud overlords that can come in at any minute and interrupt the flow of how the users are interacting with an application, right? But in a decentralized manner, the sovereignty of what happens and how it happens is all delegated to the users. So with the project that Ehsan will explain shortly, they would have an option to have the server at their house, as they have the physical hardware and have it at their house. They can have it on a blockchain-enabled network like Filecoin. And from the open source perspective of it, as Ehsan mentioned, it was important not to take sides for any specific network or anything. Hence, the decision to make it completely backend agnostic. But your earlier question, what difference does it make? It all comes down to the user experience. It's having cloud overlords or being independent.
If you don't mind,
thanks.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Great.
So I know one of the major benefits of using like Filecoin is that geo-redundancy. How's the performance impacted when a user, requests their photos or they open the app? And I don't know, have you guys experienced a performance difference between like AWS and the Filecoin data requests, and what does that look like?
Sure. There's going to be so the Filecoin backend is still not in place for photos specifically, but we did have those same experiences with the IPFS on DHT on the public network of IPFS. So the solution that we have for that is that for photos, we actually don't publish any of the photos to the public IPFS network. So there's a private IPFS network that's only connected within the user's private network of devices that hosts. So the only place that they can find the files is that private network, their internal network. And since there's no DHT, there's no overload of talking to a giant network. It's instant. The UX is similar to what we get with any centralized app.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for the answers. So my next question is for the previous question. I think it's great, and as I worked for cloud industry as well, so in the last year. So I think AWS may be more expensive than Filecoin and IPFS. So that's why Filecoin is also a good solution. My next question is, as you mentioned Flipkart in your presentation, right? How do you use that part to improve this product?
So basically, we are using like an open source component that Flipkart developed. It's a grid list, like a recycler list view that replaces the flat list and the scroll view in React Native. So if anyone having some experience with React Native, they are probably came across this creating lists using either flat list or scroll view. And performance-wise, both of those options, specifically the flat list, although it is designed to be performant for large lists like a photos application, which has probably millions of photos, it's not as performant as we want it to be. So in this project, we use the recycler list view from Flipkart, which gives us the performance that we need for showing the photos. So like when you scroll through the photos, like when you scroll up or down through the photos, you want it to user not to see any delay or like any white spaces. We couldn't achieve that with flat list. And from the research that I did, it was due to how flat list is designed originally, and there is no way around it. So we use the recycler list view from Flipkart.
Yeah, great. It's very interesting to see you using some Flipkart open source codes because, as I know, Flipkart is a very famous online shopping application, right? So this connection is very interesting.
Right.
So let's.
That's the same component that they are using in their own application, I think, because they have demos of it in their application. So
yeah. I think this also can inspire some developers that big companies, no matter what they are doing right now, you can learn from their repositories, sort of thing. So last question from the comments. Is it free? Is it free for using?
So basically, when we say free, we mean that it's an open source application. You can freely download it from Google Play or App Store, or just go to GitHub and build it from the source code. Regarding storing of your photos, because it depends on where you want to store the photos. It depends on the backend that the user chooses. So if they want to, we give them the option to turn their laptops or any hardware into box, like the next project that I'm gonna explain. So we give them this option. They can turn their laptop into box, like their laptop becomes basically an IPFS node. They can connect the Photos application to their laptops. That's free. But if they want to choose their backend, like Filecoin or Dfinity or AWS, obviously that's the cost to use those backends.
Yeah, I will add to that the whole purpose, the whole motivation that we had going on into this project was to make it free for everyone. So if you read through the article that Ehsan mentioned in the first set of slides, that was the whole idea of me and Ehsan starting this work on the project box, which is to enable everyone to participate in hosting the web. So there's an irony in what's happened really with the decentralized movement, right? So movement that started with Bitcoin was supposed to liberate everyone from centralization, but in effect, it has at this time, like in 2021. You cannot go to the street and ask a random person, do you serve Bitcoin in any way? Do you participate in validating the network transactions on Bitcoin? The answer for everyone would be no. So the whole idea for a true decentralized web is to give the power of decentralization to everyday people, right? So people from all walks of life can participate in the chain that they want to interact with, and that's been the whole idea behind this project that Ehsan will explain in a sec.
Yeah, I think that idea is very inspiring, and that's so-called democracy, right?